One of the goals of each FF event is to look back at how far the industry has come between forums. This session is going to do just that. We've brought together leaders driving key national construction initiatives so you can have a look at the reform scoreboard for yourself. Please welcome me as they join me here on stage. John Davies, the CEO of the Australian Constructors Association, is going to join me on the centre of the stage. Over to our left, we'll have Andrew Williams, the COO of the Victorian Infrastructure Delivery Authority. And on the right-hand side stage, Saeed Hirsch, the Head of Strategy, Planning and Innovation and Infrastructure New South Wales, and Gillian Gerrity, Director General ACT, Chief Engineer for Infrastructure, Canberra. Please give John, Andrew, Saeed and Gillian a round of applause as they come to the stage. I'll start with you, John. Annabelle referenced both the National Construction Strategy and the Unifying National Blueprint, so let's dig into both of those. What is the National Construction Industry Forum and what does the Blueprint for the Future stand for?
Right, the National Construction Industry Forum was something that came out of the Jobs and Skills Summit. So if we remember, if we're talking about the Productivity Summit that's just coming up, when the government first got in, they did the Jobs and Skills Summit. And one of the few things that came out, or the only thing that came out from a construction standpoint, was the creation of the National Construction Industry Forum. Government, industry, and unions focused on addressing industry issues. I'm going to just say it anyway, it was a bit political. There was a number of people that were on the government's naughty chair at the time and didn't get a seat. Danita, I'm looking for you. We've managed to remedy that in recent times. When all of this stuff came up around the building bad, we went and saw the Minister Watt at the time and said, look, as well as dealing with the past and the present, which we absolutely have to do, we've got an opportunity here to look forward. And he said, well, what do you mean by that? That sounds good. What do you mean by that? Well, why don't we create a blueprint for a more sustainable industry? And that's what we did. We brought in a more representative group into the NCIF. And I've got to say, much to my amazement, in only four facilitated sessions of no more than like 2 or 3 hours each, we've created this blueprint. This blueprint highlights the issues that our industry faces, but more importantly, it highlights opportunities to address those. And hopefully we'll all be meeting, the NCIF will be meeting in Canberra, I think it is in September next month, to endorse that and actually start work on that.
You've also been involved in the development of the National Construction Strategy, which is aimed at the big P word, productivity. Deputy Premier touched on that topic. What's that all about and what's the ACA's specific role there?
Yeah, there's a lot of acronyms going to be flying around today. So National Construction Strategy, we produced a report a while ago now called Nailing Construction Productivity. And what that report said was that we all know how to get more productive. Each and every one of you in this room knows how to be more productive. The issue is that there's a whole bunch of barriers to us realizing that. So what we said is that we need a national construction strategy, brings together government, industry, and unions, that is focused on breaking down those barriers. And again, thankfully, the government said, yes, that sounds like a good idea. And so through the Department of Infrastructure, we set up this National Construction Strategy, and it has 4 key pillars. There is a data pillar being led by Queensland Department of Transport. There is a procurement pillar being led by Andrew in Victoria, workplace and culture side in New South Wales, and we're doing a piece on innovation and MMC. And interestingly, hands up, who knows what MMC stands for? There's a few of you. Modern methods of construction. And when we talk about modern methods of construction, people generally start to think about off-site manufacture and everything else. I think, or someone else thought, and I thought that sounds like a good idea. Modern methods of construction is just collaborating. If we could find a way to properly collaborate with each other, all of our problems, or most of our problems, would disappear.
Let's go to you, Andrew. Victoria is leading the procurement stream of the NCS. Given Annabelle's comments earlier about the sheer cost of building infrastructure in Australia, procurement must be really crucial to the agenda. How does procurement link to productivity and how can it be improved?
Sure. I must start though by responding to the Deputy Premier. He may have left, but if he hasn't, he's still listening. More than happy for you to take the IP from Victoria. We're happy to share that, but our workforce needs to stay. We've got plenty of work still to go in Victoria. Procurement and procurement strategies is really your game plan. And if you want to improve or influence productivity, it needs to be in your game plan. So when you're setting your procurement approaches, it is the first time you engage with market. So it's very important, that first impression. It's the opportunity to share with the market what's important for you as the client. So obviously what the scope of the project is, but how you want it to be built, and also how you want to include some of those things more broadly important for government, such as we want to try and get more modern methods of construction into our projects. We want to employ local people and use local materials. So having those things in your procurement strategy is really important. It also shares with industry the risk profile that we want to work with industry. Pardon me. And probably most importantly, how procurement can improve innovation, as it does set the culture of how the project is going to go. So certainly the first time you engage with industry and all the way through procurement, it does really set that culture. How can we improve productivity through procurement? The pre-event for today last night, we had the Leaders Roundtable, and it did touch on this subject a bit. And some of the key themes that came out were harmonisation of how we go about procurement, and that's something we're trying to achieve in the procurement and contracting guidelines. Getting much more efficient at the process, and again we heard the Deputy Premier talk about that, and yes, there is a long way to go to making procurement much more efficient. Thirdly, probably one of the key ones is getting the risk profile right, and I think we've heard it loud and clear that there's a long way to go. Certainly, requirements are getting tougher, where we build our projects is getting more complex, and having a better risk-sharing approach and maybe looking at more cost reimbursable contracts is the way to go.
Fantastic, thank you, Andrew. It was a fantastic Leaders Forum last night. We're going to dive deep after lunch into exactly what was covered there. As John, you mentioned, our host state is leading the data stream. Unfortunately, the woman spearheading this, Sally Stannard, she's the Director General of the Queensland Department of Transport and Main Roads, and as such has been called into estimates here in Queensland today. And anyone who knows working with government knows that estimates waits for no one, not even for Foundations and Frontiers. If you're coming to the dinner tonight, the awards dinner, you'll get to hear from her there, but she has shared this video message with us.
Hi everyone, I'm Sally Stannard, Director General from the Department of Transport and Main Roads here in Queensland. Can I say welcome to Queensland? It's fantastic to have Foundations and Frontiers here in Queensland. And I'm really sorry I can't be there with you today to speak, but my team are there in the room and I'm sure you'll be finding them and asking about all the great things going on in Queensland. We're grappling with just the same challenges everyone else is in terms of productivity in infrastructure delivery, with such a big pipeline, so much work to do and only limited funds to go around. So we're very focused on cost and time certainty in our infrastructure pipeline, and particularly on how we work together with industry to get the most out of this valuable resource that we have in the construction sector and the work we need to get done here in Queensland. As part of that work, Queensland is leading the stream in the National Construction Strategy that relates to data and benchmarking of productivity. I know from our conversations with industry, there's some complex measures of productivity out there. Some of them are fit for purpose and some less so. The conversation we're having with industry is about what are the data collection and measures that will help you and us to get the most out of this sector. We've had some great engagement with industry this year where you've told us we have ample data. We don't need to collect more data. In fact, we need to use the data that we have to get better insights. You've told us we need to compare like with like, not compare apples and pears, or we won't get insights that are meaningful. And you've also told us a lot about how you use data in your sector to make sure you get the most out of the projects you're working on. We're trying to take all that feedback on board as we work together with New South Wales, Victoria, and also ACA in a critical role, thinking about the national construction strategy and particularly productivity in this sector. So the conversation is not done. but we are wanting to hear from you as we take this forward. We know that data can generate great insights, and we know that more and more the construction sector is reliant on that data to make sure they get the most out of the projects they're working on. The sector's under a lot of pressure. We think that's also true, and we recognise that government have a real role to play here. We know our design reviews can add time. We know if we have a poor design that you have a lot of trouble on site delivering to that design. We know that you need decisions that keep pace with the major projects as they're going on in the world. Please keep bringing that feedback to us because we want to play our part in improving productivity in the sector. So as I said at the beginning, it's fantastic to have you here in Queensland. Please know that we've got our listening ears on to make sure we can be part of a national construction strategy that delivers improved productivity across the pipeline of infrastructure. What you're delivering for the community is so important. It keeps our cities and our towns connected, and it keeps our economy moving. Thank you for the role that you play, and we look forward to continuing to work with you to improve productivity in the sector so we can build more of what our communities rely on. Have a great time in Queensland.
Thank you very much, Sally Stannard. Syed, let me bring you in here. New South Wales is leading the cultural stream. Tell me what that involves.
I'll start. I thought John was going to change the culture of the industry with his trainers, and then I looked up and he didn't have a turtleneck, so I stuck with the shirt. But maybe, and we had a division of men and women on the stage, which was quite strange. I tried to stick there, but they moved me on. But maybe that will change the culture. But the culture is kind of the easiest and hardest thing. Everybody in this room wants to change culture. It's fantastic. But I'll just take from Annabelle's, when she started talking about progress, but still a lot of problems. I think we have to also, be honest and not talking bureaucratic speak, but what are the realities on the ground is we've got, if I'm an elected official, I'm getting representations from industry, representations from unions, from government as clients, from subcontractors, everyone complaining about everyone else, about the behaviors on site, about all of these problems that are just manifesting. And when we have progress like the culture standard and other things, it seems we're, as an industry, we're going somewhere, but the realities on the ground are quite different. So I think there's a lot to be done, and maybe this year is the beginning of the change. So I think the culture work stream is kind of, in a way, easy. People have a working group. You need one of those things. It's very important, and they've got a report. But fundamentally, it's, in bureaucratic speak, they're trying to harmonize things. Do the same across the different states and use the same language around what is apparently what's the definition of a tradie is different between different states and things like this. So maybe dealing with the basics, but fundamentally it's really about bringing people together, whether it's from the workforce, the unions, the industry, the client as government, and to try to find some practical ways to change things going forward, building on and not recreating things like the culture standard, which is being adopted across the board, which is very good. And for other states that haven't been involved to kind of build on that as well. And we have various diversity initiatives. We have the Women in Construction program, which is a kind of an important aspect, so diversity in the industry. And that's kind of harmonization of terms and other things, and the working week, reducing the working hours and so on. But fundamentally, really, we need to be in a place where people who want to join the industry are not reading the papers or seeing the news every day around the horrific things that are in the news around everything on site. Our elected officials need to probably be getting less stream of letters and complaints from every part of the industry, which makes them really difficult for them as decision makers to know which bit to tackle. And I think that's really where we need to change things.
Just quickly, you've published some partnership principles to sort of get discussion going. Tell us briefly about those.
So I think, like everything else, partnership principles, they're a document or principles really to just get government behind something. So we know what we have it's not a new government anymore. In New South Wales, we have a government now for 2.5 years, a change in government. What we need to bring as agencies, bring this government in to help improve things in the industry. So what do they care about? What does the industry care about? And try to bring things together and get them behind that and speak in a similar language. So for example, the government finds domestic manufacturing an important thing. we talked about modern methods of construction and other things, and for industry to bring that, because we can't deliver that as government, that's impossible. Decarbonization, again, common themes. Just find these common themes and work through them. Culture is obviously a key part of it, but also we recognize that there's no winning in government if lots of people in the industry is going bankrupt. We don't build things, they build them for us. So the financial sustainability of the industry. So get government to come behind a few themes, a few principles, and hopefully help improve the conditions going forward.
Thank you, Syed. Let me bring you in here, Gillian. In the ACT, you're not heading up any stream yourself, but you've adopted some of the progressive policies like the culture standard nice and early. You love a bit of early adoption in the nation's capital. Why have you done that? And tell us about that process.
Thanks, Adam. Yeah, so we have, ACT government's got an $8 billion infrastructure program. So for those who haven't been to Canberra recently, we actually have more cranes in the sky than Sydney skyline. So get there. I believe there was only one from Canberra myself. So, and we have a huge private investment as well. So for us, it was about making sure that we have a sustainable workforce to deliver our infrastructure program. We've been measuring culture for a number of years now on a couple of our big projects, the expansion of Canberra Hospital and the extension of the light rail. Both of those projects, we've been told by our experts, had the best culture that they've seen on infrastructure projects across many jurisdictions, and we saw the results. We saw it was delivered on time and on budget, and has continued to deliver great quality. So we've now adopted the culture standard across the whole portfolio. No pilots, we just get on with it down in Canberra. And we have hardwired it into our two big projects that are underway, a $1 billion hospital expansion and a theatre, a new lyric theatre. And now we're working with the local industry, because we don't want it just to be a tier 1 issue. It's actually about how do we bring all of our local industry, all of our mums and dad contractors, all of our consultants on for them to be able to understand how do they adopt the culture standard. So we've been working with them for the last 6 or 7 months. And the last consultant panel that we put out, we actually asked all consultants to actually show how they're going to adopt the culture standard as well. So it's business as usual for us, and we're just getting on with it.
Fantastic. Let's have a look at the impact of actually just getting on with it. Here's a video examining some voices where projects have already had the culture standard in place. Turn your attention to the big screens.
We know our industry's tough. We know it's one of those industries that takes a real toll on families and the people that work in it. So to create an initiative, I suppose, that allows for more of that time for life, allows for our people to get out there and have a family life, see their friends, I think it was a fantastic initiative. We consulted with industry, spoke to unions, spoke to everyone about how we were going to do it. Obviously, we've got the data now to prove that it is successful, and we've rolled it out to all our other AWPs. It's the way we work now, and we're really proud of it. I think that's one of the things that you really get from an outcome like that, when you know that you're having a positive impact on people's lives.
At the commencement of the study, RMIT conducted the initial survey, and it was apparent there were a number of key issues that we wanted to address through the program. These were grouped into 3 main categories. So firstly was long work hours, wellbeing and time for life, and finally diversity. Most of the data that we received was from Survey 2 that was undertaken in August 2023. So that was at the beginning of the project, and the final survey was done in February 2024. We received 15% increase of work-life balance satisfaction, 7% increase in enjoying life, and an 8% increase in managing their work-life balance. We had 36% of people previously doing over 50 hours a week. That was reduced to 12%. 17% over 55 reduced to only 7%, which was great. People felt more optimistic, useful, relaxed. The commitment of 3% trades, we've hit 6.5%, and non-trades, the commitment was 4%, and we've now hit 8.3%, which is a fantastic result.
One of the greatest challenges probably with the implementation of the culture standard for us was really around the fear in our wages workforce around loss of pay. I guess as the time went on and over the couple of years of implementing the culture standard, it became clearer to that wages workforce that that wasn't the reality. Probably the most surprising thing, I guess, through the whole process with the culture standard has really been the broad acceptance by all stakeholders. We initially had some fear that we may get some pushback, but we started talking to stakeholders, everyone from the client, union bodies, through to our supply chain, and most importantly, the workforce. Every single person we spoke to was fully supportive.
One of the more recent things that we're pretty proud to be part of is the CICT 5-day work week, and that's really trying to make some of the changes around time for life and well-being and just making our projects work in a better way to try to improve some of the challenges in the construction industry. And that pilot of the 5-day work week, we rolled that out at Brunt Road, and we're now applying that on all our projects, and it's gone down a treat. We're still working with the CICT to roll that out more broadly across industry, and that's been another really cool innovation that we've been associated with.
With the embedment of the pilot program on the Narre Warren Cranbourne Road project, we were able to see successful outcomes, including a more cohesive and cooperative team. We saw lower levels of stress, anxiety and depression reported that led to safer outcomes and a happier team.
One of the most impactful initiatives we delivered was improving work-life balance by capping the hours, allowing for more flexible work arrangement. We actually saw immediate improvement in staff well-being, lower stress level and more engaged workforce. So this initiative fostered a very positive work environment without compromising the project timeline.
By implementing flexible work practices and making our environment an inclusive culture, we've definitely found that people, when they're at work, are focused on the task. They're not worried about having to leave early or do this thing or ask permission for whatever it is. They're there, they're committed, and then they also get the opportunity to have time for life when they need it.
For both the projects and organisations, the culture standards bring significant benefits. It creates a healthier and more sustainable work environment that reduce the burnout, enhance the safety, and also definitely boost some of the retentions. In an industry that's known for long hours and high stress, this new approach is crucial. It makes the industry more attractive, especially to underrepresented groups like women, ultimately leading a more diverse and productive workforce.
As a pilot project, we have a responsibility to the industry and to our future construction workers to trial it properly and prove that it does work. The impacts so far have all been positive.
I would definitely recommend the culture standards.
I would definitely recommend the culture standard to the industry. Get on board, everybody.
Okay, so clearly moving in the right direction, still a long way to go. The perfect time to bring in a long-time champion of cultural reform in construction. She's the chair of the Construction Industry Culture Task Force, Gabrielle Traynor. How are you going, Gab? Lovely to have you here. That video, you've clearly hit some major milestones. A fair way to go. Where to from here?
Well, I think the thing, Adam, that...
come on forward, mate. Step into the spotlight.
I will. Okay.
Yeah, don't be
Thank
shy.
You. The thing that is most remarkable about hearing from the horse's mouth what the application of the culture standard does on sites is that clearly well-being is improved and diversity is improved, stress is reduced, projects are on time, projects don't cost anymore. But we had last night the launch of the official culture standard and some ways in how to do it, the implementation tools. The killer, in a way, for people to be persuaded about the value of the culture standard, because a lot of people just think in terms of dollars and cents, is that there is a clear productivity dividend. If you just look at avoided turnover costs alone in the culture standard projects and extrapolated that across Australia, we as an industry could save $1.1 billion. And that's just on turnover. That's not on reduction in the cost of mental health. That's not on the improvements that diversity can make in workforces. So that it's such a compelling argument if you just look at it in purely those dollar terms without even thinking how it improves the life of over 1 million people who work in the construction industry.
Because a lot of people would assume it's a trade-off. We can either we can be a bit nicer or we can just push people a bit harder and save a few dollars. Clearly, as cliched as it is, it sounds win-win to adopt this standard.
Absolutely, and I would urge everybody to look at our report. There's an article in the Financial Review this morning about it. But read the report and you'll see that this can be done. It has been done. The projects demonstrate it can be done. Gillian's doing it in the ACT. They're doing it in Victoria. They're doing it in a national way. And that's another beauty of it. It is a conversation that has become a national conversation. It has the possibilities of framework to be applied across jurisdictions in procurement in all sorts of infrastructure projects and reap that productivity dividend and, importantly, make the construction industry much more an employer of choice than it appears to be at the moment, just given our skill shortages.
Fantastic, Gab. Thanks so much. Gab is going to stay around during morning tea if you want to ask her any questions. I'm mindful of time, but all our panel will be available during morning tea if you want to ask them some questions. Just one quick note. Gab did mention to me she does have 500 pages of AFL Commission notes to read through before an AFL Commission meeting soon. So if you're chatting with her and she looks a little bit distracted, I hope you understand why. Thank you so much to all our team. Just before I get a closing comment from you, I want to take the pulse of the audience here. We've got these big pillars that you mentioned as part of the strategy. Which one are you most behind? They're all awesome, but which team do you represent? Who's big on modern methods of construction? Make some noise, modern methods of construction. That was great. Let's try that again. Make some noise. Yes. Modern methods of construction, yes. Okay, yeah. Who, like me, is a total nerd for data? Yes. Yes.
All important.
Very insular group, just looking at their shoes, but fantastic. Who thinks the answer is procurement? Yeah, all right. And who is deep into camp culture? Yes. Right, they seem to have the majority here. In wrapping it up, John, you've got some great initiatives on the way. It's a busy schedule. What's the key to getting it done, and what are you most excited about in the short term ahead?
Look, the key to getting it done, Adam, is everyone here in this room working together on this. This can't be done. This isn't an ACA initiative. This isn't a government initiative. This is a construction initiative. We need everyone in this room to play their part. And if they do, like I said last night, we don't have to wait for an economic forum in Canberra to get where we want to be. The future is in our own hands here in this room. Every single one of you are senior leaders in our industry, and you can all play your part. In fact, I urge you all to play your part in this.
Well said. Can we please thank John, Gabrielle, Syed, Gillian and Andrew. Thank you so much, guys. A wonderful conversation.